The dismissal of Nyck De Vries from Red Bull has shed light on the uncompromising reality of the sport. As they often emphasize, the most daunting aspect of F1 is not merely securing a spot, but maintaining it. A lesson De Vries has learned the hard way. However, it seems the Dutch driver is not holding back in expressing his strong sentiments toward his former team. Does this mark the end of the saga between Nyck De Vries and Red Bull? Curious about what Nyck said after Red Bull let him go? Wondering if Yuki got special treatment? Stay tuned till the end to hear Hamilton's recent thoughts on Mercedes' performance this season. To be frank, it wasn't what we anticipated. De Vries' dismissal has definitely stirred up different reactions in the F1 community. Opinions are divided on the sacking. Some think it was fair, while others believe the Dutch driver deserved more time. However, from reading your comments, it's clear that most people feel the dismissal was quite harsh, but that's just how the business works in the end. The main question that needs answering is, what exactly led to Nyck De Vries' situation? It's not just any ordinary driver, he's a Formula F2 and Formula E champion. Perhaps understanding his response to the sacking could provide more insight. According to F1's beloved grid-walking pundit, Martin Brundle, the Dutch driver seemed to be affected by desperation. I feel really sorry for Nyck because I believe he's capable of more. He hasn't even had half a season in a challenging car and his teammates are much more experienced. Has Nyck performed well? No. It's quite evident to me that desperation has started to attack his driving in the last few races. A lot of desperation, actually. He got into some unnecessary conflicts on the track, and it's genuinely disheartening to watch because I know he's capable of better, said Brundle in an interview with Sky Sports. Now, here's the thing. It's clear that Nyck wasn't performing up to par, but amidst all the discussion, there's an intriguing question that hasn't received much attention. Was Nyck given a fair opportunity at Red Bull compared to his teammate Yuki Tsunoda? Could there be some hidden clause that kept the Japanese driver on the team? Helmut Marko seems determined on this matter. At Red Bull or their sister team AlphaTauri, if you don't perform well, you lose your seat. This has happened to drivers like Pierre Gasly, Alexander Albon, Daniel Kvyat, Scott Speed, and now Nyck De Vries. But the question arises, was the team more patient with Yuki compared to Nyck? Let's delve into that. Yuki had quite a tumultuous 2021 season, to put it mildly. In a memorable first race, the young driver secured points with a remarkable 9th place finish in Bahrain. In contrast, De Vries lagged behind at a lowly 14th position. It's true that the AT02 was notably better than the AT04, but let's take a closer look at Yuki's first 10 races. In the second race of the season, Yuki had to start from the back of the grid due to a qualifying crash, but he displayed an impressive performance by working his way up to 9th place. Unfortunately, his progress was disrupted by a red flag and a spin. In Spain, the passionate Japanese driver began from P16 after making it to Q3 in Baku, but unfortunately crashing into the wall during the same session. However, he rebounded impressively and secured a commendable 7th place the following day. Meanwhile, his teammate at the time, Gasly, achieved an even more impressive P3 finish, overshadowing Yuki. In France, Yuki managed to finish P13 despite starting from the pit after yet another crash. In the subsequent 3 races, Tsunoda secured 2 more 10th place finishes and reached Q3 again in Austria. It is essential to mention that Gasly consistently outperformed Yuki in the first 10 races, which Helmut emphasized when dismissing De Vries. Additionally, the AT02 was much more competitive compared to the current AT04. So what set Yuki and Nyck apart in their first year? Firstly, despite Nyck's efforts, he didn't demonstrate the promise of being fast on the track. On the other hand, Yuki, although reckless at times, showed that alongside his mistakes, he could find genuine speed on the track. The main concern with Yuki was his lack of experience and impatience. There is a noticeable age difference between Nyck and Yuki, with Nyck being 28 years old and 8 years older than Yuki when he debuted for AlphaTauri. It's hard to label someone with Nyck's age and experience as a rookie, right? As for the connection between Honda and Red Bull, many believe that Yuki was Honda's preferred choice, and Helmut Marko probably couldn't intervene at that stage. Well, honestly, we don't think that's the case because if the Austrian really wanted to replace Yuki, he could have done so. The bottom line is that Yuki displayed more promise and potential compared to Nyck. Many pundits and fans saw the raw talent in the Japanese driver and believed he had great potential. All Yuki needed was to work on his attitude and rashness, and then he could become a great driver. On the other hand, Nyck did improve, but he never truly showed much promise and didn't have standout performances. Stoffel van Dorn, a former McLaren driver who was teammates with De Vries at Mercedes during their peak Formula E years from 2019 to 2022, believes that Red Bull's decision is not particularly surprising considering their past history. Sadly, that's often how things go in F1. It can either turn out exceptionally well or go terribly wrong. Everyone had high hopes for Nyck, but the car just didn't perform up to par. Consequently, it was challenging for him to make an impact. He went through a tough period, and we also know how things work within the Red Bull team. Stoffel van Doorn mentioned in an interview that it's common in F1. Nyck De Vries was reportedly surprised and displeased by his dismissal, as confirmed by Red Bull's Dr. Helmut Marko. The Austrian newspaper Curia reported on De Vries' initial remarks, indicating his assurance of Sergio Perez's seat next season based on a multi-year contract and a promise for the second Red Bull seat in 2025. It's now highly unlikely that De Vries' assurances will materialize. He even suggested that his dismissal wasn't surprising, especially after Red Bull's recent title win over Lewis Hamilton. It seems there's more to this story than meets the eye. This story is far from over, and if Red Bull indeed made promises to Nyck about the 2025 seat, it's possible that he may consider taking some form of legal action. We'll have to wait and see how it unfolds. Nyck received support from former world champion Sebastian Vettel, who had something to say about the way it all ended for the Dutch driver Dre. I believe he was given a fantastic opportunity. Perhaps things didn't unfold as he or others anticipated, but the abrupt end was quite harsh. It's brutal, said Vettel. He also added that people should not only focus on De Vries' performances in F1, as he has won championships in various disciplines and proven his capabilities multiple times. Currently, it's uncertain what lies ahead for Nyck. However, we can be confident that the Dutchman will likely make a quick comeback, with endurance racing being a probable destination. Speaking of F1 futures, Lewis Hamilton's situation has been a topic of much speculation, as the Mercedes driver has been linked to various teams. Last season, Mercedes lacked competitiveness, and this season, they appear to be trailing significantly, while their customer teams have made substantial progress. Aston Martin seems to be a team on the rise, and the McLaren's recent upgrades have rejuvenated them. Unfortunately for Hamilton, Toto stated that Mercedes' upgrades won't have the same impact as McLaren's upgrades, adding to the bad news. I believe the cost cap and limited time in the wind tunnel are restricting us. McLaren finished further back in the championship, securing 5th or 6th place, which grants them more wind tunnel time allocation, making it challenging for us. As for the upgrades we have, do I think they will significantly alter the car? According to Wolff, the upgrades might not bring fundamental changes to the car. Observing McLaren's performance in Hungary, which is a different circuit from Silverstone in Austria, will be crucial. If McLaren maintains their impressive pace, they could become Red Bull's closest rivals in speed. With Lando Norris driving, there's a chance we might see him win a Grand Prix. There's exciting competition at the top, as some teams are already shifting focus to next year. Lewis Hamilton even stated he's not fixated on this season's results. Focused on providing development information for the team, the goal is to start the next season strongly with a well-handling car. Hamilton revealed his long-term thinking, while Perez doesn't see himself in a championship race. Max Verstappen may secure another title. Perez aims for the podium in Hungary and acknowledges Verstappen's greatness. He wants to maintain his position as the runner-up this season.